I don't know about you, Rick Moon, but I hate that song.
You hear too much.
Today is April 15th, 2014. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't African, the talk show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find his way to the American soil, to the American earth, to the American hemisphere, to the American paradigm that the world seeks. Everybody is trying to get over here to America. Everybody's all over the world live in situations that are cruel to their people. And they all want to run to America. They all want to come here and seek the freedom that they are getting from under the tyranny of their home countries. And when they come over here, they act just like the brutal dictators that are over in those countries. And the so-called African American, being that he wants to be a foreign power, being that he wants to be a foreigner, helps these foreigners subjugate us and put us in the condition that we are all in. And when I talk about the condition, you know who you are. Tonight's program, we're going to talk about something that's very, very, very important to the community. If you're looking out into the community, and when I say the community, I would like for all of us to look from the oldest African American you know, or so-called African American you know, the oldest indigenous person you know, to the youngest, to the baby that's just been born, to your son that's going into the junior high school next year, to your daughter that has to say that poem. Hook all those people together. From Miami, Florida to Seattle, Washington, from San Diego, California to Bangor, Maine, and all the places in between. These people that occupy this land, the people here who are put in the positions that we have to live in and try to make a life out of because foreign invaders have entered our mind, bodies, and soul. And the problem is that we are being eaten up by it, being eaten up by our own, how we participate in the charades. So tonight, our conversation is going to be on that. Please call us in at area code 256-849-2227 if you have questions or comments, or if you have a solution to the problem. One thing that we don't want to do here at African American is getting bogged down with the problems that are going on. But we have to recognize what these problems are a sign of. Why are these problems happening? Why are we self-destructing on ourselves? And we better fix those problems because we're going to be the only ones that do it. Now, I know a lot of people are waiting for the return of Jesus and Allah and all that. That's not happening. It's going to be us who are going to make it right by connecting back to our ancestral homeland, America, and fixing the things we need to fix and doing the things that we need to do to move forward as a race of people. We ain't going out like this. And I'm one to make sure that we don't go out like this. Joining me as always is the incomparable Rick Moon. How you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Buck. Thanks for the compliments. Thank also hello to all the people out there. It's good on this good Tuesday night, ready to get some knowledge going.
So what's going on over there, man? Up in the where you Rick? You in the Appalachian Mountains? Where's Charlotte? Where's Charlotte, North Carolina?
We kind of behind the mountains there. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why we don't have the problems that are like tornadoes and stuff like that, like other cities do. Because we kind of behind the mountains and we're really too far away from any hurricanes getting here, although Hugo did get here in 1989, but that was very, very rare.
Okay, so Charlotte, North Carolina. Any of the listeners out there ever been to Charlotte? I can say myself that Charlotte is a beautiful city. Nice city. Really nice city. So a lot of trees, a lot of it's you can tell it used to be a forest back in the day because of the way some of the people live. It's definitely not us because they got us straight in these reservations out there. But the way the people live with the earth is amazing. So if you ever get a chance to get up to Charlotte, go check Charlotte out. So what we got on the current events, Rick?
Well, not too much news, but being that I'm an astrology buff, there's something going on tonight called blood moon, and what a blood moon is when the earth shadow gets between the sun and the moon, and at approximately 12:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the earth will position itself between the sun and the moon in the first of a series of 4 eclipses to conclude in September of 2015. Okay, is known as a tetrad, which tetrad means 4. What it is, the Earth's umbral shadow, which an umbral shadow is the complete or perfect shadow of an opaque body mass such as a planet, where the direct light from the source of the illumination completely cuts off. Also, they usually what we see are called penumbra, which is a space of partial illumination between the perfect shadow on sides of the fall light. And this is going to happen tonight, like I said, at approximately 12:53. The best time where the moon is going to be really kind of blood red is at 3:07 a.m. if you guys are up at that time. And for all you Christians out there who don't think that astrology has nothing to do with the Bible, why don't you check out Joel 2, verse 2, verses 30 and 31, where it says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord." So all you non-believers is right there in your Bible in Joel.
So that means Jesus coming back soon?
Excuse me?
Does that mean Jesus coming back soon?
It could be. I don't know, man. Because I was reading an article earlier today where some preacher out there was saying that it was a sign of something that happened, and so maybe so. We might see Jesus. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. So what does that mean? So what does a blood moon mean to us? What is the significance of all of that you said? What does that mean? Should we be out looking at it? Should we be out wishing upon a star, so to say? How should we handle that?
Well, I think it's a good idea to watch it because hello?
Yes.
Oh, I thought I hung up on you. I'm sorry. I think it'd be a good idea to watch it because the moon is going to actually turn red, and you don't see that, especially in nighttime hours. The
Right.
moon turning red. So I think it's very interesting. I think it'll be a good thing to see. And like I said, this doesn't happen very much. As a matter of fact, the last time it happened, as a matter of fact, it didn't happen at all between the 1600s and the 1900s. Mm-hmm. So it didn't happen at all. And you will not see this happen again until approximately 2032. So that's about another 20 years away that you'll be able to see this again.
Okay, so does it have any spiritual significance to it?
Well, I'm not into the spiritual part of it. This, so I don't really see it as spiritual. I just love astrology and astronomy, so that's why I'm so excited about it, because it's just what I like to do and read.
Well, you just said that it was in the Bible, and I'm since these things, like you said, rarely occur, and when they occur, people write down. I mean, like you said, you just read a Bible scripture, so people write these events down. If it's important to write down, should we be looking at what happened right after this, the last time it happened, if it does mean something? Because I'm sure there's some cultures around the world that take this as a sign of something. It may not happen here in America, but in other places they may take this as a sign of something. That's why people base their holidays around events like that. So that's what I mean. Is it something like that we should pay attention to? And if you're on the African American Ain't African chat room on Facebook, please send in your thoughts what that is, if people are doing research and looking that up, and the people who are out there searching.
I don't know any spiritual. Me personally, it doesn't mean anything spiritual to me. But it is. But I do look for things to happen because astrology basically is the science of the human heavenly bodies and their effect on world events. So maybe there could be something, or maybe it is something that's going to happen. So,
well,
but I want to talk about something that you was talking about earlier before the show, and you was telling me about a guy named Frederick Patterson. Could you tell the people about this great guy?
Frederick Patterson, and I just found this out today, and that's why this is what this show is going to be based on, because this is part of it. Frederick Patterson was a brother who was back in during the Depression. This brother came up with a car company.
Wow.
A car company. He was in Ohio, so he was the competition was Ford. I just put this into perspective, listeners, so you can see the amount of energy that we expend for something. Check this out. This brother did a car company back in the 30s. It didn't go well because, of course, a brother doing a car company back in those times, the powers to be had to smash him out. And this is the reason they smashed him out. Whenever we do something, especially as a group of people, we do it very well. It's fun. Everybody had a good time. That's why all these foreigners are over here coming to steal your shit. What we talked about earlier about the blood moon and stuff, those are symbols that other peoples, the power that be, use to move people to do things. That's all that's about. We are supposed to be connected to that, knowing what to do, knowing what our ancestors did when they came across these events, because they witnessed them too. But being that we like to be other people and other things, we don't know nothing about that. So if we're connected to, what did you say the astrology was, Rick?
It was the study of the heavenly bodies and their effect on world events.
Okay, so couldn't that world events just so happen to be, aren't we part of the world? Would that have an effect on us if we are part of the world?
It could.
Yes, it's a part of us.
It could have an effect on us, but a lot of this, like I said, when you, like I said in an earlier show, anyway, when you can control people, you can make things happen, and so that's probably what this is about. Me, I just have I just have the interest in it because I want to see if these things that are going to happen, that they say are going to happen during this time. But this was the first time, that I've come across this also about this blood moon. So I really don't know the spiritual significance of it because I haven't heard anything about it. But it is going to be interesting to find out, what's going on with it.
Getting back to the car story. So this brother who built these cars had a car company and was going head up with Ford. So of course he wasn't gonna. But this is what I mean about us not being connected to who and what we are. This brother did this car company. Now imagine during the 1930s how racist white America was to the Negro of that time, the black people of that time. Imagine this. Imagine if the Negro would have said, you know what, later for Ford, we gonna build this car company, we gonna make all the parts, we gonna make all the tires, we're gonna secure the plants that grow the rubber for the tires, we're gonna make the hubcaps, we're gonna make the steering wheels, we're gonna manufacture everything that goes into building this car. That way our children will have jobs. We can compete in other areas of the world and take our product and sell it there. That's what why wasn't the African American thinking that? We can't say he wasn't thinking about it because it was a brother who did a car company, and that was back in the 30s, and we ain't doing that now. The reason we're not doing that now because many of us, and this is the irony of the story, went to go work for Ford and help Ford build their empire.
Right.
We didn't build ours. We skipped over, proud head in the air, and helped somebody build their empire, and we just left ours to rot to the side. That is a Negro. That is a black person. That is an African American. Because we can't say we don't have the genius because that brother displayed it back then. Just like a lot of us are today, but what is it that we don't put our energy into making those grow, and we put our energy into death? And that's going to be the subject of the conversation tonight. Please, you have any questions, please call in at area code 256-849-2227. We have a couple of callers on the line. Callers, you have any questions or anything? How's everybody doing? So tonight, why do, as a group, the African American has turned themselves okay, you're going to be hearing that a lot from Rick because he keeps getting on me about that so-called. You're right. So-called African American, how the so-called African American was made a sociopath to destroy himself and his people. And this was set up. We're just going to go through a little bit of history of it so you can see it. But this was set up with the full complicity of the black Negro community. And we're going to talk about that. Because current events, things must change for us. You can't keep cutting on the TV, and every time you cut the TV on, when it talks about us, we're in a negative position. We ain't having that. Because it programs you in your mind that's how we're supposed to be, and we're not supposed to be living like that. So we're going to show you how the African American was concocted, what went into building him, and what he does now. See, we have to write down what's happening to us. If we don't, our youth, they won't know anything. We have to make a way for them. We can't wait for fate or somebody else to come do this for us. We're going to have to do this.
I agree.
So, what is an African American? So before we get into this conversation, what are the components? What are the ingredients of this? What is an African American? If you go to Wikipedia, and this is this is one of the ways you can tell how your history is being written for you. If you go to Wikipedia and look up African American, to the right side of the page you'll see Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, all these people. What's weird about that is none of those people ever called themselves an African American. This is how you are being written out of history. Those people weren't called that. But what is an African American? What is it? Let's check out the history of the African American. The African American was created to rid the world of himself so foreigners could come in and set up a habitat that was conducive for their style of life while pushing the African American into extinction. That's what the African American, because if the African American was a part of nature, if African American was part of what made him, if the African American was part of what spit him forth, he would be working with the forces that got him to this point. Instead, the African American is tricked and are to work with forces that he himself didn't even create. The sole purpose of the African American, and call me if this is wrong, the sole purpose of the African American is to build empires for others, and the proceeds that they get for building that, they are to take that and buy the people who they work for products. That's basically the role of the African American. Very few businesses of African Americans are set up because African Americans own very little resources. We don't own timber fields. We don't as a group. Because a lot of times we look at people, individuals, like one person can do everything. That's impossible. We need the help of every single last one of us. Every single last one of us. And you know who you are. So the African American was produced to be this kind of currency that other people can use. Other people, whatever these people do, we can take that culture and we can sell it. Music industry is a perfect example. Whatever these people create is great. I mean, they got so many Koreans break dancing and doing all that stuff now. It's pathetic. Everybody comes and steals what you do and then sell it back to you. That's the purpose of the African American. That's why he was created. And you're going to see how. The African Americans are the offsprings of the blacks, who are the offsprings of the Negro, who are the offsprings of the colored, and so on and so on. So as you notice, the African American, his identity changes every generation. And what I mean by that is, kids who are graduating high school today, if you called them Negro, they would look at you kind of funny because they have no connection to that word. They have no connection to what those people done. They have no connection to the brother who invented the car. We have no connection to it because our identity is changed, and that's something that's ugly. So when mainstream America shows the history of African Americans who were Negroes, who were blacks, they always show it in a negative light. That's to program you to be negative about yourself. That's blacking you out. They're sending you images that are going to black out your whole existence. It's like the picture that I posted with, in advertising this piece tonight. It's a picture of a brother. He's somewhere around a whole bunch of white people. Now, normally when this happens, brothers get this happen to him, and it looks like a white boy is about to stab him with a flag. And he got another white boy, look like he's holding his arms back. And these are the pictures that they showed back in the day. These weren't African. This guy isn't an African American. That term hadn't been created yet. This picture was taken in the early 1970s when blacks were trying to integrate the schools in Boston. Speaking of that, that's another problem, how the education is brought us along. Where are we? Where are we going? And the reason we're going in this way because we've been socialized to be animals. The African American was the creation of the think tanks out of Washington, D.C., London, Amsterdam, etc. These people are the ones who control the lives of what we live. See, these are the people who say they're going to eat this. They need this in their bodies. This is the new social norms. This is what your child is going to be taught. This is what I'm going to hire you to build me. These are the people that control the lives of the so-called African American. African American really don't talk about them too much. These are conversations that you're not going to have with you're not going to have these conversations. Because our thinking isn't for our survival. Our thinking is based solely on to consume. So all these think tanks came up and decided that we're going to create these people to do this. And they created that by making things possible and impossible for you to do. It's kind of like giving a rat the cocaine. He'll do it if you do certain things. And that's basically because we don't produce anything for ourselves. Brothers haven't produced no cities. The brother who did the car company, how come that ain't the bangingest car company in the world today? How come we're not thinking about it now? I mean, we love to brag about all the people who making money. That money ain't for the benefit of you, it's for the benefit of others. And we've been trained to be that way. The purpose for the creation of the African American was so that the previous generation's work would be ignored, breaking up the continuity of previous generations. Here's an example. The Black Power movement. The Black Power movement sprung out of those kids who were with the civil rights. They had grew up and saw that this didn't work. So they went to what they knew, and that was to pick up the gun. Unfortunately, since we don't produce guns, if you're going to get your guns from the people who make them, then you're at a disadvantage already. So, but what they did was they created a stir. The Vietnam War, brothers was like, we ain't going to Vietnam. There was a stir going on, and the African American wasn't created yet. The so-called black people, they were right in the center of that. They were right in the center of that. To change you from African American, to change you from black to African American, and again, these are ideologies, these are programs that other people create. These are what other people create. We don't create this for ourselves. And so if you create that model, then we're gonna, whatever the definition of what they create says, that's what we're gonna be. And we're not getting it. So the Black Power movement, that was wiped out because it was intended to. So now we don't have that same fire in those eyes that those brothers and sisters wanted for change. That's all they were saying. They were wanting change. We can't live like this no more. That's all they were saying. They could only do it in the way of what the previous generation had set forth for them. But they wanted change. And Rick, you know what? Maybe we ought to be looking at is we're talking about the blood moon and these events that happening. What as a group of people, like, so if we went back and you said the next blood moon is in like 20 years or so,
right?
What was the blood moon prior to this one, and what as a group of people, what did we do? That'll be some good research to check out. So
yeah, I think the last one is in the probably in the 1500s because it's a rare occurrence. So
okay.
And to add on to what you were saying about the so-called African American and the meaning of him, you know, like you were saying that they show all these people like Frederick Douglass, MLK, and these were some of the guys who was telling you, especially King and Frederick Douglass, they were the ones that were telling you that you weren't African. and now all of a sudden they represent African Americans.
Well, but again, that goes back to us, because the programming. We don't listen to whole speeches. Normally, for us to sit and read a book and to listen to somebody speak, we're bored with that easy. We want to see TV. We want to see that's what the TV is for. It's to show you these images at a rate of speed that keeps you sitting there. And whatever picture they put, and that's where most, unfortunately, it could be sports, it could be all that. It's boring because you're not a part of it. You're not doing anything. You're not being a part of nothing. Your mind is just being turned to mush.
That's right, and you're not exercising your mind neither. All you're doing is wanting to be entertained, and that is not a good thing for us because it takes your mind off of what you're really supposed to be doing, and that is to teach your people to be self-sufficient, like just about all these other people all around the world.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And it's like it's not a problem. It's not a problem. In essence, the African American was designed to rid himself of the planet, making it easier for foreign nations to come over and take your land and resources. That's basically what the African American was created for, because it cut him off.
And also, even if you did go back to Africa, what are you going to own over there? Who's going to give you anything over there?
So the head trip keeps us disconnected from nature and what we're supposed to do. That's what I mean of a sociopath. You're not connected to anything. You don't have an allegiance to anything. It's like the sister who called last week said, we don't own anything. We feel like we're just here. We're just renting. That's the love we have for the earth. That's the love we have for nature. That's how we are. We disconnected, brother. We disconnected. In programming the African American to kill himself out, this would ensure that the occupiers wouldn't suffer the karma that's due them. So, if you look throughout history, whenever Europeans do something, they get a karmic debt back to them. Whatever you breathe in, you're gonna breathe out. Whatever you breathe out, you're gonna breathe in. What goes around comes around. Would you say that's the truth, Rick?
I agree. As a matter of fact, I can give you an example. How about that tropical storm Sandy up there in New York? What happened to those people up there? That was not the storm. All the storm that did all that damage. That was actually the ocean, along with the storm. So that was actually the earth fighting back at you because, I mean, what you doing on the water anyway? I mean, that's what they got land for all the living creatures to walk on. They made the water for aqua animals and stuff like that. So
right.
Yeah, when you go against the rules of nature, they have a way of getting back at you. And believe me, it's going to get worse before it gets better too. Buck, I think so. How about you?
No, I'm seeing it, brother. I'm seeing it just with the rains. I mean, man, this stuff flooded out. I'm like, dang. I mean, flooded out. So, like you say, man, if we don't take care of it, Mother Nature will. So we're not working with the environment. So the African American is totally cut off from nature. So cut off from that. You remember when we were kids, Reg, they had that football game that you put the men on and it vibrated?
Oh, ain't that the state we in now?
Right.
Oh, that's a perfect example.
Right. We don't work with the environment at all. And so, being that we're not a part of it, what would happen if Mother Nature just said, you know what, I got to lay some hands on somebody because this got to get better? If we are not a part of it, what happens to us? So that's what an African American is. An African American is like a toy, a voodoo doll or something that the European has created to serve himself. And that's what he does. That's what he and she does. And they do it very well and are very efficient at it. What's a sociopath? Now that we got the African American defined, let's go to what a sociopath is. Because an African American is something that their purpose in the world is not set for. They don't set that. Others set it for them. Area code 256-849-2227. We have a couple of callers on the line. Any callers have any questions, anything they want to add? Cool. Let's go into what a sociopath is. This is not a personal indictment on any one person. So please don't take it that way. This is when you look out amongst the group and you're seeing where as a people, where are we going? What is the purpose of our lives? What is the energy of our lives being used for? What's our purpose? Why are we here? And when you look out into the world, and I know a lot of times they show the athlete and below. Those are the poor kids who can't control themselves, and all the stuff you see in the street. That's like bubble gum to the African American community. That's like bubble gum. What is happening to us? Here's what a sociopath is. This is how most of the group, and I don't know, me and Rick get into this sometime, but I think it's a lot more than what we think because we're not seeing any pockets of no signs of life. We see no signs of life nowhere.
Can't disagree with that.
Here now, check out the sociopathic behavior. A sociopath is very glib. He has a smooth way of talking, but he has very little forethought of what he's saying. And what that means is he'll say something, and I'm sure we've all came into this character. They talking smooth, but when you ask questions, as soon as you ask a question, they're on a defensive. You know? It's kind of like a minister. But when you go to ask, they talk smooth to get you in, to get you emotionally tied in. That's that Mac Daddy talk. That, what's happening, baby? Hey, girl, you so fine. That talk that really doesn't mean anything. So sociopaths are very glib like that. That's glib. They just say whatever. They don't even think about what they say. It just shoots out their mouth. Sociopaths lack depth and substance. And they don't have nothing. So if you sit and have a conversation with them, you've been to that point where you're sitting and having a conversation with a person and all they can do is talk about themselves. Can't talk about nothing, what's going on in the world. Can't talk about how can we make a better place. Can't talk about what my purpose on this planet is. Everything is about himself. Or the things that he has attained. Car, ring, tennis shoes, braces, ice cream cone, whatever. Sociopaths are very manipulative and cunning. They'll say whatever to get you to go along with them. They'll flat out lie. Speaking of lying, They're pathological and habitual liars. You know, you ever ran into one of them, Rick?
Oh, I gotta tell you about this. I was actually talking to a young man on the YouTube today, and he was talking about Columbus. And he was saying that when Columbus got over here, he saw Africans. And I told him, I said, I've never seen that anywhere where Columbus said he saw Africans. I said, what I saw where he said that he called them Indians. So I said, so evidently Columbus must have forgot that they was Africans, but because he called them Indians. And that's exactly what you were saying. People will make up stuff just to prove themselves right and you wrong.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm talking about the habitual, pathological, the person that you know they lying. You be like, dang, dude, you trying to think of something to get out of there. Everything that comes out the mouth is a lie. We can never get no true. And like you just said, they'll make up something to prove they said, what? Those are the characteristics of a sociopath. Lacks remorse. Has no shame or guilt. So it'll be caught in one of them lies and be like, oh well, I'll get over next time. You can lie to brothers and sisters, take their money, and don't care, just so you can go give it to somebody else. For real? Just so you can go give it to somebody else. So these are the moral standards that many of us have taken. They get pissed off by insignificant matters. They'll want to fight if you picked. They want to fight you if you like the Lakers. They want to fight you if you don't think one of their players is better than your player. Whatever games are going on out there, your team is better than my team. I have seen brothers fight over teams, football teams.
No, LeBron better than Kobe. No, I don't think so. I think Kobe better.
What? What? Incapacity for love. Sociopaths have no capacity to love. And what I mean by love is giving of yourself. Help somebody out if you know you can do it. It don't always have to be money, but however, if you can sweep somebody's porch off, being a service to each other. Sociopaths are not a service to nobody. Sociopaths are promiscuous. Sociopaths are promiscuous. Who are the promiscuous people in our community? The Mac Daddies. The one that got all the honeys. The one that's always shining, dipped and buttered. These are sociopaths. They lack empathy. Their children can be shot in the street all day long. They don't give a damn. It wasn't me. I only look after me and mine. Normally they just mean they look after me. These are sociopaths. Shallow emotions. Always whining. Always down. I can't do it. You know what I'm talking about, Rick.
Yeah, if it wasn't for them females, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now.
For real, dude. Right. Hey, I tell you, man, they get all the love, though. They get all the love. Poor behavior controls, impulsive nature. Rage and abuse are common. These are sociopaths. They have no personal boundaries, no concern for their impact on others. They're not concerned about wrecking other people's lives and dreams. They don't care. Is that the behavior of the so-called African American? Let's be honest. Area code 256-849-2227. We can also be reached on Facebook in the African Americans Ain't African chat room. Please come with some intelligent stuff. The people who've been sharing, thank you so much. It's a whole bunch of information. People are going. The information's out there. I don't understand what we're walking in these days, Rick. The information's out. The information, man. You would not believe what other people are posting. They like, what? The information is there. Another characteristic of a psychopath is they don't like to learn nothing. They think what they know is all there is to know. And if you don't,
we all came from Africa, and that's it. That's the story. End of story.
Check. One characteristic of the so-called African American is his willingness to always play the victim. That way, he or she can blame someone else for their condition without looking to his or herself where the problem can be rectified. By looking at themselves as victim, it makes the African American seem like he or she can't help what happens. Therefore, they look for others to change their lot, Jesus, Allah, etc. That victim role, that and it's put in our faces all the time. They always have us the poor Negro, the poor. They just poor. They can't learn. They come from broken homes. The mainstream. They're black. The mainstream. These are the ideas that other people put on us. These aren't what we really think about ourselves, is it? All of us think that we're great. All of us think we're great. We do. We all think we're great because we are. But the filters that have been put in our eyes for us to see out of is what's slowing us up. We all think we're great. We all love our mothers. We all love our children. We all think everything that we do is great. But what we look out of, the lens that we look out at, the lens that we look out into life with, has been put in front of our eyes for others. And we will not take our eyes down to look at the other 359 degrees of life that's going on around you. The African American, the term African American, is meant to disconnect the indigenous people of North America from their ancestral homelands. While you fantasize about Africa, you're disregarding what's happening right here in America, the place where your forefathers and foremothers walked. See, that's the other thing where we have this sociopathic behavior. Your great-grandmama, your great-great-great-grandmama, your great-great-great-great-great-grandmama, your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, all your uncles and cousins that make up the fabric of America, and you just turn it over to others? Your ass is a sociopath. So,
and then when they do get in trouble, guess who the first one they go to? That great-great-grandmama, those uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, mother. That's the first ones they go to, instead of going to the people who gave them those solutions at first and telling them to straighten it out.
Right. So, that's a sociopath. So you have the African American and you have the sociopath. So you have this one entity that is like a automaton. It's a robot. It has life, but his life is meant to serve others. Then this definition of sociopath is somebody who is just here to eat up everything around him with no regard to himself. What sociopath does. How did it get like this? How did we get in this position? And the reason I'm sharing this so we can get ourselves out of it and wake up to some of the realities that are going on with us. So if you have any solutions to any of these problems, please give us a call at area code 256-849-2227. I'm your host, Buck Wylam. One of the things when you go to college in America, some of the things that are taught in college are not part of the culture of the so-called African American. Our culture is.
Sigma Alpha.
What'd you say? What'd you say? What'd you say, Rick? What'd you say, Rick?
Yes.
What'd you say?
I said you're gonna try out for Alpha Sigma Theta. You're gonna go out for the Greeks, man. We Greeks, man.
Hey, man. But once you get in there, you do learn some things. And one of the things is that we should do as people, if we go into these institutions, is to share this information in order to make the community better. Come out for our benefit, nobody else's. Eric and psychosocial stages of development. Now, this is going to show us how we became sociopaths. This is how we became sociopaths. We're going to go through this real quick, and if any of the callers who are online have anything they want to add, please add it. Please add it. Matter of fact, before we get into this, is there anything that anybody want to say about the definition of the African American and the definition of the sociopath? Let's check out this Eric and psychosocial stages of development, and you'll see where a lot of the problems in the so-called African American community come from, and also it'll give ways on how we can fix some of the problems that we go through. Eric's 8 stages of psychosocial development behaviors that may be associated with healthy and unhealthy expression of the self's development and ego boundary growth during Erickson's first 5 development and ego boundary growth during Erickson's first 5 psychosocial stages. This is how we develop in this social setting that we're in. Now, maybe this works in other people's social cultures and norms. Maybe it don't. Maybe they have other ways that are similar to this to help develop the child. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do different things. But in the environment that we live here in America, this is the psychosocial stages of development. In your first year of infants, in your first year that you're born, if a child is going to have a healthy growth, shows outward signs of healthy growth, this is what the child does. Invests in relationships. So you ever seen a baby that he won't even know you? He won't even know you, but he'll reach out to you. That means that's a healthy growing child. The child likes to be around people. The child, because the person that he's around is like that. He's making sure this baby grows healthy. So naturally the baby's going to say, well, if this person's like this, and all people must be like this. These are babies first being, infants. Expressions of trust. The child is open and has non-suspicious attitudes. Why? Because who's ever feeding this child, who's ever is growing this child healthy, is that way. They ain't got to hide the money from the kid. The baby's in an environment where it feels safe. Also, a healthy child is being able to let go of his mother. Okay, mama be here when she get back. Let me go look for stuff. Let me go investigate. Let me spread off of the breast. Let me go see what I can do. These are what babies are thinking when they're that age. Notice babies, they trying to move forward. They want to learn. They just got here. The baby welcomes touching. You can hug the baby. You can give a high five to the baby. The baby just doesn't sit there with his hands in his lap. The baby also shares all his possessions. Here, you want this? We've seen those babies. These are outward signs of healthy growth in a baby. Now, how you know you got a baby that's not healthy? There's also some outward signs of unhealthy growth. Here's one of them. They avoid relationships. They're suspicious. They're closed and they're guarded. They're unwilling to let go of mother. They always want to be around mama, because what's going on when they're not around mama, they want to be around mama. That's a lot of times where mamas be saying, keep an eye on them kids. Because this behavior that we've picked up, trying to be other people, trying to be everything but ourselves, has gotten us like that. Babies also don't give eye contact. They don't look you in the eye. And they don't share. They don't share. Now, the thing about these arrogant stages of development is, if you don't move to the next step, these things are not fixed, you'll stay there your whole life. Don't you know people, Rick, that don't look you in the eye when they talk?
Oh, I think the so-called African American is very good at that. I mean, if you look at, especially when they're around other people outside of their own. I mean, I still see a lot of so-called African Americans when they talk to, especially when they talk to Europeans, they still put their head down and can't look them in the eye.
Yes. Also, they don't share. They don't share. So this is with an infant. This is with a 1-year-old. If that child doesn't learn how to share, he'll go his whole life staying stuck right there. These are the stages of development, and these are the stages that many African Americans are stuck in, because they don't grow. There's not nothing set up, or anything set up where we can go and get these situations fixed, or we can have some kind of counseling where this should be taught to our children when they're out of the womb. But the atmosphere, the environment that we live in, how we behave is a must, because all of these things, you're gonna need social workers, you're gonna need jails, you're gonna need doctors, because all of these things somebody will come up with a medicine for.
And Buck, to even take that even further, how about it could start even before the child is born? And to give you an example, I'll tell you a story about my daughter. When my daughter was born, I wasn't there. I wasn't at the hospital when my daughter was born. My daughter was born here in North Carolina, and at the time I was overseas in England. But while her mother was pregnant, both of us used to always talk to her while she was still in my ex's stomach. So I didn't really get to see my daughter until she was a month old. When I came back to North Carolina, saw my daughter, she was laying on the bed, I started talking to her. And the first thing she did was she started looking around trying to see who that was, because she recognized my voice, because even though I hadn't, been around for a month or two, she recognized my voice, and she started looking around and trying to find out where I was. Then she saw me. And I think that's a very good sign of a healthy child.
Yes. So from any callers on the line, any callers have anything they want to add? Check out the second year. Second year, the toddler strives to learn independence and self-confidence. So these are healthy. These are healthy in a 2-year-old toddler. They're independent. You know, you've seen the independent toddler. Put me down.
Right.
Put me down. I love them type. They're not easily led. You know, because they have things that they want to do. They have connected themselves. They are starting to connect with themselves. They resist being dominated. They're able to stand on their own 2 feet. They work well alone or with others. And they are assertive when necessary. Which means, you know, if things are going cool, everything is cool. But if they not, I'm putting my foot down. This is an unhealthy growth in a child. Procrastinates all the time. Always say I'm a do. Now this is a 2-year-old. So that can come from, you know, instead of going to the restroom, they'll pee on themselves. When they know they've probably been trained to go to the bathroom. They have problems working alone. They need structure and directions. They have trouble making decisions. They are easily influenced. They're easily influenced. And they're embarrassed when complimented. These are the stages of development. This is in a 2-year-old. As you can see, some of the things that we named that are on the unhealthy growth, that's a big problem in the African American community, or the so-called African American community. And we look to others. We seek the help of others and the ideas of others to help fix these problems. That ain't gonna work. So now the child gets into preschool and they 3 to 5 years old. So now this is initiative versus guilt. Preschoolers learn to initiate tasks and grapples with self-control. If you have a healthy 5-year-old, he's a self-starter, accepts challenges, assumes leadership roles, sets goals and goes after them, and moves easily, freely with the body. If the child is unhealthy, he gets depressed easily, he puts himself down, has a slump posture, poor eye contact, and has a low energy level.
Buck, before you go on, I just want to interject something here. I am following you and I'm listening to you. And before you were talking about the sociopathic person, all of these things that you are naming on the opposite side, when you'll say one versus the other, it sounds like it's the base personality of a sociopath. And all of those behaviors that you're talking about now are typically the ones that are developed or molded when someone's in the family environment. I'm just listening to the ages that you're talking about. And this is even before they go to school.
Yes, ma'am.
So family plays a really big role on the development, the healthy development of an individual. So go on. It's just that I was listening to that and noting that.
Okay. Well, thank you for your.
Yes,
right. Now the child gets to elementary school, and again, check out how young these children are, And you can see that we carry this through our whole life. So imagine the energy that is eaten up. If you have a healthy child in elementary school, he wonders how things works. He asks questions. How does that work? I know a few times I asked questions, I got slapped around. People get mad. I'm serious, man. The 6-year-old finishes what he starts, likes projects, enjoys learning, likes to experiment. If the child is unhealthy, he's timid, somewhat withdrawn, overtly obedient, procrastinates often, is an observer, not a producer, questions one's own ability. And this is this is when they get into elementary school. So as you can see, it's like the sister was saying, this is what we train our children to be. And then, this is the cold part, we'll go seek medical help. I'm serious, man. We will seek medical help.
Yeah, I know.
And
give you a good example of what a healthy child would be. I got another little story. I used to work at a college, and it was a female that brought her son down to the college. She was trying to get some financial aid or whatever. And so, the son, he was kind of off and on to his own world, which was a good thing to me. And he took a liking to me, and he just started coming up and asking me questions. I mean, he asked me all kinds of questions. Some of them I couldn't even answer, but he answered me a whole bunch of them. And I tried my best to answer all the questions, and his mother, she looked at him and she told him to stop asking people questions. And I told her, I said, no, he's trying to learn. He can ask me all the questions he wants, and just let him ask questions. I don't mind answering. And to me, that's an example of a healthy child.
Yes. Yes. So if you don't develop these characteristics in yourself, you'll carry them the rest of your life. Now, as we get into the older adult, the older child, check out how this turns on itself. So now the kid is an adolescent, his teen years. If you have a healthy teen, they are certain about their sex role identity. They have this active interest in the opposite sex. They plan for the future. They challenge adult authority. And they tend to accept themselves. You said they challenges adult authority. You said that's a good one?
Yes, it is, especially when they don't agree. I don't see no problem with them challenging it.
Yes. And I think that may become because they start to figure out around that time, they start to figure out that you have been lying to me.
Right.
Yes. I think that's around the time, because now they're starting to, understand common sense. They're starting to figure things out. They're starting to, like you say, question and get answers. And so now they're going to challenge the adult because the adult may have told them things that weren't true. So now he has no trust in the adult. If you have an unhealthy teen, their doubts about their sex role identity. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Lacks confidence. Overly hostile to authority. Overtly obedient. And tends to be self-rejection. Now, this is interesting because aren't we seeing in the African American or the so-called African American community all of these things?
I hate to say it, but if you're talking about the negatives that we've been talking about, I see a lot of those. Although I do see some positives, so don't think I'm a negative person, because I do. Like I said, I gave you a couple of examples of healthy children. So it's not that everybody's like that. But I'm sorry to say, when you're talking about the so-called African American, I think I'm talking about the majority of them are on the other side.
Now, the doubts about the sex role identity, and that's in the same group as self-rejection. And what I mean by self-rejection is this: you have to have something that I'm a male, and I can do this, and the roles that the males do, I have to be the best at that. Whatever it is that the male is supposed to do, I'm supposed to be the best at that, not the worst. Not be ashamed of who I am. I don't want to reject what I was put here to do or what I'm here for. I don't want to reject none of that. I'm supposed to be the best that I'm supposed to be. If I was a giraffe, so the lack of confidence and the tends to be self-rejection. Why are you ashamed to be a boy? Why do you think you're a boy trapped in a girl's body? What does that mean? I'm serious, man. Because one of the things that with all this stuff going on and we see happening with us, one of the things how people, swaths of people get wiped out is through having no births. Not having no children. So if I go back 3 or 4 generations and my great grandmother's having 14 kids, her daughter's having 14 kids, her daughter's having 13 kids, you are growing a nation. When you start going the opposite the way of doing that, that kills your nation off. Coupled with the other things that you do, homicide, no love for all that's full-fledged genocide. And when you start laying the pieces of the puzzle together, that's what you get. This is the role of a sociopath. How are you not going to have no love for yourself and what you are? And then, when questioned on it, we go into the emotional mumbo jumbo.
As a matter of fact, on that, there was an article that you posted a couple of days ago talking about abortion, where they had actually a live baby that had been aborted.
Yes.
And I was looking at some of the comments on there, and I seen a couple of females who I gotta call sociopathic, because they were saying like, "Man, it's her body; she should be able to do what she want to do with it." Huh?
Right,
what about that baby? Don't it deserve a chance?
The environment that you live in makes it hard for that's when I was talking earlier about my great grandmother having 14 kids, her daughter having 14 kids. The environment that we live here, that doesn't work in this environment. That's what I mean, how we're controlled. We're in somebody else's environment. We don't set up an environment for ourselves that are going to be beneficial or conducive to us. We're in somebody else's environment and we have to be conducive to them. So a woman she has to work. She lives in a whole different environment because we haven't set up an environment, because mainly we're stuck in a sociopathic nature. Check out the young adults. If you have a healthy young adult, he maintains friendships, has physical and emotional intimacy. Participation in games, groups, open and willing to interact, able to make and keep commitments. If you have an unhealthy young adult, this is where you at. You sabotage relationships. You withdraw. You avoid people. You're defensive. You have self-defeating behavior. You maintain isolation. and you question your job performance. You question why. You question everything you do about yourself. You isolate yourself from the world. That's an unhealthy young adult. These are the signs of the sociopath. When you get to middle adult, now this is 40 to 60 years. Now check out how this starts to flip around. When you're 40 and 60 years old, if you're a healthy 40 and 60 year old, you're generous. You're confident. You do productive work. You your own person. Your willingness to invest in the next generation. You achieve your goals. You're willing to risk, you're willing to explore, you're willing to produce, and you're willing to take charge. That's a healthy adult, a middle adult, 40 to 60 years. This, if you're an unhealthy adult, you stagnate. You're always watching. You always complaining, blaming, obese. You have a fatalist attitude. You're not satisfied with yourself, your job, your wife, your life, and you're resentful. A middle-aged person seeks a sense of contributing through the world. Stagnation versus generation. As a group of people, are the African American as a group of people, are they stagnating or are they generating? Generating productivity for the whole group. Because whether y'all want to believe it or not, those who are indigenous people of North America, and you know who you are, we're a family. And maybe since the word family has become such a negative sense in the so-called African American community, we might have to come up with another term for that. But as a group of people, are we generating or are we stagnating? I'm not talking about individuals, because one monkey don't stop or start no show. Now, this is the late adulthood. Do you have something to say?
Oh, no, go ahead.
This is the late adulthood. This is hilarious. This one is hilarious to me. If you're a healthy elder, you're proud. You're content with self and life. You're still actively thinking about the future. Now that one right there is, I've heard some elders told me that. They say, man, I want to keep on going. I want to keep working. I'm looking 20 years down the road. That's a major part of life. You know, and I hear some kids say, man, I wasn't supposed to be here to 25. I mean, what was you thinking? I'm surprised I made it to 25. Where these youngsters are thinking that they're not supposed to live long because all the images that they see of themselves dying young. So still actively thinking about the future is very healthy. They have a healthy interaction with self. They can go off on a hike by themselves. They can go do stuff by themselves. They can go on vacations by themselves. They're comfortable giving and sharing with others. They like being an example to others. They accept the aging process gratefully and death as part of the life cycle. They accept the aging process gracefully and death is part of the life cycle. And death is part of the life cycle. And death is part of the life cycle. You just in another world, that's all. This is if you have an unhealthy elder. They're always in despair. They have deep resentment. They have nothing left. They're useless. They don't even tell the kids stories. They don't even give the kids the history of the family. They don't give the wisdom that they were supposedly attained through that whole life. They don't share that and they don't pass that on. This is a elder who is unhealthy. They have low self-esteem. They angered at themselves, their family, the world, everybody. They're closed to others. They complain all the time and they're irritable. They pissed off at being aged and they feel cheated. Sounds like a child, huh? Sounds like a child. So the person has grown up to be an elder and is 65, 75, 85, 95 years old, but still has the characteristics of a child because they haven't grown. Now this is individual. This is Erickson's 8 stages of psychosocial development behaviors. Do some research on it. My sister shared this with me. And so these are some of the ways that I think that some of the solutions that we're looking for can be, we can use some of these to make ourselves better. Because it's like I was saying, imagine, and this is what we got off subject, Rick, but this is what I want to say about the car company. So this brother put a car company out in 1929, 1930. What would have happened if the Negro community at the time would have grown that into what some other car companies are doing? And this is just an example. As a group of people, as a nation of people, and that's just one example is the car, because the so-called African American on cars, what do you think we pay in cars, interest fees, tires? A conglomerate like that, our contribution to it, if it would have been our own, or if it is our own, how would that drive up the confidence of every single last one of us? What if that company that brother invented came out and was running on batteries in the 50s? What would we be running on now? These are the ideas that we're going to have to start cultivating in our children. We're going to have to make our children feel like they're special, like they can do anything, like they are a part of this environment. They are a part of this planet. And if we teach our kids that they something that they're not, which is what we do, then we'll cut ourselves off from life, and we'll continue to be the sociopath that we are. So, are there any questions or anything anybody want to add? Any of the callers on the line want to add anything? What about you, Rick?
Yeah, I got a couple things to say. This is, I'm glad we had this program tonight, because not only did we, because usually when we have these programs, a lot of times we're talking about a lot of stuff seems to come out negative. But on this particular program, not only although we did bring out the negative, we also brought out things that positive people do. And I'm just hoping that all the people out there were listening to this program tonight, because I think it was a very good subject that we talked about, and I think it's something that we really need to think about. And another thing going on, the guy that had the car company, man, I don't know where I put it at, but I had a couple of sheets of paper that had a lot of the inventions that our people actually created. And you would not believe all the different things that our people actually created that we don't have patents on, that we're not making anything off of. and other people are just making money. Example, the rap industry. Well, my study of the rap industry tells me that rap actually started up in New York by a bunch of indigenous brothers. Well, look at all these Europeans that's making all this money off of this rap now. We had guys like Hustle Simmons who sold a whole recording company. And now somebody else who has nothing to do with us is getting paid off of it. He didn't even think about his children. You know, what are they going to have, you know, when he's gone? Hopefully, but I'm sure they're going to have enough money and everything to survive, but they're probably going to have less than him, and if they are anything like him, their children is going to have even less until they, and I think I think he's a sociopath myself, but they're gonna be left with nothing, and when we have nothing, that's what's going to happen to us. The only thing left now is death. So I hope people think about what we talked about tonight, because I think it was some very important information that was going across these radio waves tonight.
You're going to have to, and I've seen a few people do it. I'm seeing more and more people do it, especially females doing it. They're just being straight up blunt, straight in your face. You have to speak common sense and wisdom and knowledge, especially the times that we're in. We can't keep going around not knowing nothing, not knowing how to solve problems. We have to share information. We have to share resources. We have to share
something, brother.
You sure can.
I've enjoyed the program, but I just would like to share some information. I have a book in my hand, and it was first printed in 1898, and it's called Regeneration. I don't even know if you can find it. You might be able to find it on the internet, but it's called Regeneration by S.A. Weltmer, Weltmer. And it's not very big. It's probably big as the palm of your hand. And it's talking about all of the forces in the body, the glandular systems, and not to how to make them healthy and make them grow, but they're talking about how to degenerate these glands instead of regenerating the body to heal itself and repair itself. They want to alter these glands and alter these things. This back in 1898 to degenerate people. And what was so interesting was they said that the fluid that's in a male, it's separated with the sperm, and this fluid is separate. But when these fluids come together through sex, the sperm immediately comes to life. So they have been experimenting with how to tamper with this fluid to determine the development of a generation of people 4 generations down the line. This is back in 1898. The book is called Regeneration.
Regeneration, brother. What did you say the author was?
S.A. Weltmer. Weltmer.
S.A. Weltmer. One more time. Spell it one more time, please.
Yes. S.A. Weltmer. Weltmer. So they determined that the main driving force is sex. And instead of turning this force outward, they turned it inward. So the problems with our youth, with all of our people, it's on a much deeper level, and we have to, this book will be good for people to read, because this is the very beginning of how our people began to be destroyed on a molecular level.
The book is Regeneration by Sidney L. Weltmer. You can get it on Amazon for $15. we have a study group on Sundays. Maybe this could be one of the books that we read, because this is nice. I'm gonna pick this up. The book is Regeneration. Sidney A. Weltmer, sir, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. Does anybody else want to add anything? Well, what we're gonna do, we're gonna start having contests on the African American Ain't African, the Facebook chat room. And what we're going to do is we're going to post questions, doing like a little writing, see if we can get our thinking going. And the one who writes the best essay or whatever we decide to do, we're going to post it up. I'm thinking of what to do now. You'll win a scholarship to go to one of Chief Langley classes on the weekend. He's doing a genealogy workshop, and I would suggest you check it out. If you're trying to find out who you are, if you're trying to find out who your people are, where you come from, a genealogy search, it gets you at least back. It got me back to the 1805. So if you want to check out who your people are, where they live, what they did, Chief Langley got some nice classes. The information he give is solid. He's a forensic genealogist, so he's making some things happen over there. So check him out. So we're going to start posting some information online, questions and stuff, and if you answer those questions, you can win a scholarship to one of his classes. So we want to go ahead and say thank you for hanging out with us tonight. We hope the talk was something that you could use, something that you can get out of. And remember, we're trying to be healthy folks. The sociopathic nature that we walking around here, all we have to do is change. It's just that simple. All we have to do is be agents for life. We want to see everything live. Just changing our mindset to that is going to make everything work out. So, little change never hurt anybody. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. One more thing. We're going to be gone for a few weeks. I'm a be out of town for a few days. We're going to go do some research in a couple other places, and when we get back, I'll have some better information to share with you, because what's happening in one city is happening everywhere, but one place may have the resources that another person don't have. So as us here in the Southeast, this is a very agricultural South. So we can take some of the natural resources and make things, and hopefully we can share with our brothers and sisters in other cities and the world. So I'm going to be gone for the next few weeks. Not next few weeks. Next 3 days. Next 3 telecasts. I'll be gone. But I'll be back Thursday. We'll be posting and talking on Facebook. So until then, we'll see you next time.